Did you guys know that the second Friday of a new year is labeled Quitter's Day? Because about 80% of the people who have a New Year's resolution will have quit and given up on that New Year's resolution by the second Friday of the new year. And so, as we're like 10 days away from that Friday, and I gotta tell you that if you wake up on January 11th, first of all, realize that if you're still continuing to try to strive for progress and to accomplish whatever goals and aspirations you have, just know that you're within the 20th percentile of the people who actually made a New Year's resolution, and the fact that you're continuing to keep it. And so, bravo to you. Congrats. Hats off, because, clearly that's obviously put you in a much more smaller group of people. And so when I was thinking about the 80%, because I think we've probably all have been a part of that 80% at some time or another, I realized that a lot of the times I gave up on things that I was wanting to do was because I thought to myself that it was either silly or I had self-doubts about whether I could accomplish it. And more importantly, I felt like I was going at it alone. I felt like that I didn't have any supporters or anybody who was cheering me on, and I realized that way of thinking, that was on me, because there were a lot of people in my corner and who have supported me and cheered me on along the way. The problem is that I just had some weird idea in my head about how it was supposed to happen and how they were supposed to support me. And that was really unfair to them. And so looking back at it, all I did was really kind of discredit every like of a post that I made, or every good job or way to go or compliment I maybe got in my professional career, and just realized that, like, I wasn't alone. I just chose to ignore the people I was supporting, and most of the time because I was seeking approval from people who really truly didn't support me. And so I think, look, as you go into 2025, 7 days from now, get on the other side of the hurdle, be a part of the 20% that is continuing to maintain their goals and aspirations for the new year. But know two things. One, you have a larger support base than you actually give yourself credit for. There's a lot of people out there who want to support you and who love you and care about you and are rooting for you, even though they may not be doing it in the way that you want them to. And secondly, if you truly believe that you're at a spot where you have no supporters and no one's there for you and you're going at it alone, I want you to remember that personally, I know that feeling. And just have it in your head that at least one person, I don't care if I know you or have met you or not, but damn, I support you in everything that you do. And so just know that going into Quitter's Day, here in about 7 days, there is one person in your corner who's rooting you on. It's me. Keep going. Doesn't matter if it's small, doesn't matter if it's big, doesn't matter what you're contributing to your overall goal, keep going. We're all about progress over complacency, and just remember, you can do it. Hey guys, welcome to the Friday edition of the Batmandrew Podcast. And if you saw the first episode, the intro episode, you'll know that I'm doing a series of videos going over my life from 2019 to 2024. It's only going to cover the first 5 episodes. After that, we'll jump into more eclectic stuff. But I wanted to be able to... I saw a meme that talked about the jump from 2019 to 2024. It was just so unreal. And for me personally, like, I can truly relate to that. So for this podcast, for this episode, we're going to cover 2019. And I hope that in the comments, you guys feel free to let me know kind of what 2019 was like for you. Let me know what kind of, whether it was, any kind of hardships you struggled with, any kind of adversity you overcame, anything fun and exciting that happened to you in that time period. I'd love to be able to know about. So Before I get into 2019, though, I do want. There was a couple of things that happened towards the end of the year in 2023 or 2024, excuse me, and one of them in particular I want to talk about because I'm a huge nerd is that Superman trailer that dropped. Now I know by the time that people are seeing this episode, we are probably 2 weeks removed from the debut of the Superman trailer by DC and James Gunn. So my thoughts are a little bit late on it, but I gotta tell you, when I first watched the trailer, I was underwhelmed. And I think I just put too many expectations on what that trailer was going to look like. And when it came out, I don't know, I just kind of thought that it wasn't great. But then I continued to watch it. And like most people, I watched it over and over again. And I got to tell you, it slowly started to grow on me. A couple of things that I absolutely loved about the trailer. I didn't know how it'd feel crypto. I actually started to really like the fact that we have crypto in this universe. Being able to see like Guy Gardner's Green Lantern in there, Nathan Fillion. I was never a big Nathan Fillion fan. Whenever I first saw him, but a few years ago there was a YouTube short that he put out, that Nathan Fillion put out, that was about that he was playing Nathan Drake, and it was a little Uncharted short. And if you haven't seen it, just YouTube Nathan Fillion Uncharted. I am a huge Uncharted fan. I actually have Sic Parvis Magna, the quote from the first game, tattooed on my wrist. I actually also have my name in Kryptonian tattooed on my wrist as well. It tells you how much of a Superman fan I am. But he did amazing as a version of Nathan Drake, and to the point where I was kind of disappointed in the Tom Holland Uncharted movie, because I wanted a Nathan Fillion Nathan Drake. So when I saw him in the trailer, obviously we knew he was in there. I saw him in the trailer with that goofy bowl haircut that Guy Gardner has. Like, I think he's going to be great in that role. I'm looking forward to really seeing it. You also had Hawk Girl in there. You saw your images of Lex, Lois. But as I continue to watch it, I just really thought to myself, okay, like the tone of this movie, it's obviously more bright and vibrant, but I actually think they're going to really bring the stakes with this one. As I watched the trailer, it wasn't just all sunshine and rainbows. I mean, it starts out with Superman beaten, crashing back down to Earth, and so I think that I think we're in for a treat. And James Gunn, I love the Guardian movies. Guardians 1 was by far the best in my opinion of the three. But probably my favorite line of any of the Guardians movies was in 3, where Nebula was trying to open the car door, and Star-Lord was walking her through it, and he said, push the button. She was like, okay, what do I do? He's like, open the fucking door. Like that. I died laughing, the first F-bomb being dropped in the MCU. So I trust in James Gunn. He's obviously an amazing, creative individual. I could only hope to have a quarter of his talent. I think that he is, I think he has a nice hold on it. Like I said, I think the reason why I was underwhelmed was because maybe I had such high expectations and hopes for it, but I think that's on me. I think after watching the trailer a handful of times, I think that it's going to be a good one. So, just wanted to share my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about the Superman trailer. I think we're in for a treat here. So, let's dive in. 2019. So in 2019, my wife and I, we bought our first house. We had already moved back from Arkansas at this point. Living back home in Oklahoma City. We went to buy our first house. We had the privilege, I don't know the privilege is the right word, I guess we were fortunate to buy our first house and the land that we live on from her grandma, who since moved to Florida, Alabama, somewhere around there. But anyways, we bought our first home. It was an old mobile home. We're still in it now. You can see the nice, lovely wood panels behind me. But it was our first home. We were buying it. We bought 5 acres of land to go with it. We were excited for it. I just started full-time photography, or at least getting to the point where I was about to. And if you haven't seen any of my work, or if you haven't followed me and this is kind of your first introduction to me, I tried to do something. I still do it. Something different and unique. I do the photography of action figures and toys. And then I take those photos, I print them off at comic conventions, and I sell them at conventions. So, as you can see kind of behind me, there's some statues and figures. This is just a small drop in the bucket of what I have around the house. I'm a huge nerd. But that's kind of how I started photography. And I was getting ready to see about pursuing a career in that. I'd already left retail. And I decided that obviously I couldn't just jump into photography full time without any kind of safety net. So I went to go work for a chain of pizza stores called Mazzio's. And if you're from Oklahoma, you're probably pretty familiar with them, or if you're around the southern states, I think there's a few locations in Missouri and Kansas, but whatever. So I started working for Mazzio's. I was a restaurant manager for Mazzio's. And I enjoyed it. I liked doing what I was doing. During that time, my wife and I also got to go to Disney World for the first time. And if you're a husband, you know the joy that it brings you to be able to take your wife to do something that she'd been dreaming of doing since she was a child. And when she first saw the castle at Disney World, she cried. And it made me feel like I was on top of the world because I did something for her that she had hoped and dreamed. And for me, I mean, I grew up fucking dirt poor. Like, I had nothing when I was a kid. So going to Disney World was never even a thought in my mind of something I could do. So being there, even though I was an adult, it was an absolute blast. Loved every second of it while we were there. We only had enough time and money to be able to go to 2 parks. So there's still a couple parks that we haven't gone to. Now, fast forward, several years, we have a kid, so we're obviously going to want to take him to Disney World, and we'll see those parks when we get there. But yeah, at the time, it was just a fun, pardon the pun, but magical event. And I will tell you, so I won't spend a whole bunch of time on it, but I'll tell you maybe my favorite story from that Disney World trip. We were watching the fireworks show, and if you've ever been down at the fireworks show in Disney World, the fucking crowd is insane. There's so many fucking people there. And we thought we were smart. We got there super early, got in front of where the line was blocked off, and ultimately so many people tried to push in that we weren't in the front row anymore. So the fireworks show was amazing. Loved it. It was great. Glad we did it. But as we were leaving, we just stood there because we were kind of letting the crowd go. We had nowhere to go, so we just waited. And I look over, and there is a mom and her kids trying to cut all the crowds of people and go through a barrier that was blocked off for VIP members or whatever. And so the cast member asked them to come back out and go around like everyone else. And so the woman gets out, and the cast member was nice about it. She said, "Ma'am, you just can't go through there. You need to come back out and go around." And so the mom and her kids walked off, and we got a little bit closer to the cast member. And I said, "Hey," I appreciate you making her come back. It's not fair that we all kind of have to wait around, and then some people feel entitled and can cut around and try to break rules." And as soon as I was saying that, the mom came back and started ripping into this poor cast member. I mean, just laying into her about how she embarrassed her family, and she's going to report her, and how she was, I'm pretty sure she called her some pretty disgusting things as well. And at this point, I wasn't in retail anymore. I wasn't even, I think I was maybe at Mazzio's, but if you've worked in any kind of form of customer service, you've been on the other side of that, where the cast member was, and I knew the cast member couldn't say anything, but I could. So my filter came off. I responded to the woman who was yelling at the cast member. And the woman was just appalled at my response, and she stormed off, and the cast member looked at me and she said, "Thank you." And I was like, "No, I get it. Like, I work in customer service. I understand. I'm sorry that happened, but you did nothing wrong. That woman can, go kick rocks." I'm sure I said something a little bit more vocal than that. And then it hit me, and I turned around, I looked at my wife, and I said, "Hey, we need to go." She was like, "Okay." And we started walking away, and she was like, "What's the rush?" And I was like, I am about 99% confident that she went to go get her husband, and I wasn't trying to go to Disney jail that day. So, I think although Disney World was fun, I do think that being able to speak up for that Disney cast member as she was getting verbally assaulted from a woman who was extremely entitled. It was one of the highlights of that trip. So, we get back from Disney World. I'm working at Mazio's for a little bit, trying to get my feet planted. Restaurant managers are a step down from general managers. They're not like assistants, but they're also not like in charge of everything. And so, this location that I was in Midwest City, Oklahoma. And there was a location on 23rd and Penn, North 23rd and Penn. And if you're from Oklahoma City, you know that that's not a great location. But they lost their general manager and they were needing some help. So they asked me to go over there and kind of lend a hand and help out. So I went over there, and what was supposed to be, a few days turned into a few weeks, and then a few months. And they finally came to me and they offered me the general manager position for that location. But it was 3 times further than I was driving for work already. And they weren't really willing to come up on pay at all. So I respectfully declined, went back to the store I was coming from. And then a couple of days went by, and my DM came to me and said, "Hey, we're really struggling there to be able to find someone. We're just going to put you over there temporarily until we hire a general manager." And I said, "Okay." I said, "So what are we looking at compensation wise? Like, what are we talking about?" And they said nothing. They were going to move me over there in the same position I was in, same pay with no additional compensation. And there was really nothing I could do about it. It was close enough that legally they could transfer me without me saying anything, or being able to have any rights to it. So I went over to this location, ridiculously bitter, I'm not gonna lie, and then ended up being at a location for the better part of that year. And I was furious, but I was also trying to find something else work-wise, and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and it was kind of hard because although I could go find just any other job, I was able to really work around the schedule to be able to continue to pursue photography. And so I was kind of stuck. And the CEO of Mazio's dropped in unannounced on me, and sat down with me and kind of talked to me. And he had heard what had happened, and realized that he didn't know. This was a decision that was made by the DM to try to fix his mess, and he had no idea. And so he drove down from Tulsa to talk with me and to try to help keep me, and ended up transferring me to a location that was much closer to my home, as a general manager with a pretty significant pay increase to kind of help offset the kind of shittiness of the situation. But, during that time, I just kind of realized that is too often employers, they just take advantage of people's situations. And, look, I get it. I've been doing multi-unit leadership for a long time. So trust me when I tell you that there are times and circumstances that come where you need people to step up. But I had stepped up, for a few months and said I couldn't do it anymore, just to be forced to go anyways. And so it was a really kind of shitty situation. But ultimately, the highlights of that year was a lot better than the lows. Being able to, again, buy a home with my wife, be able to take her to Disney World, be able to start photography. I will share with you the ultimate highlight of what what that year was for me. And I'll kind of close with this. So it was the moment that I realized that, like, my art mattered to people. I was at New World Comic Con, and it was the first time I'd ever opened a booth with any of my photos. And there was, it's a Comic Con held at the State Fairgrounds. It's a 1-day con. If you're a vendor, the booth fees are great. So if you have ever thought about going to New World Comic Con, I think your return on investment is really good. But I was there at the con, and I had several photos that I was showcasing and that I was selling, and we were about halfway through the day, and no one had bought a single photo, and I was super discouraged and really kind of bummed out. And my wife, she was super encouraging. Continued to stay positive through the day. Continued to tell me, that it was that my art was good, my photography was good, and that people would eventually find me. And so I just got done literally talking to her, and she kind of giving me that spill. And I turned around, and there was a lady who was looking at a photo that I have. I have a photo of Captain America at the Oklahoma City Bombing Memorial. And it's a photo that I entitled In Remembrance. And it's just a photo of him by the reflection pool, kind of overlooking the memorial. And I turned around, I saw the lady looking at the photo, and I walked up and I started to give like my spiel, like, hey, what you're looking at is action figures. They're toys that I take out, try to make them look as real as possible. And the lady turned around and she was gushing with tears. And I didn't know what to say or do. I said, what, are you okay? And she told me that her husband, who was a huge Captain America fan, had died in that bombing memorial. And so when she saw the photo, it obviously took her back to all of her feels, and she's telling me the story, and I'm starting to tear up hearing her tell me the story. And she said, I gotta have this photo. And I was like, here, take them all. Like, I don't even want your money. And of course she refused. She was very kind about my art and about what I was doing and how meaningful it could be. And we'll get more into like my photography stuff, I'm sure, in later episodes. But in this case, I don't know if I'll ever forget 2019 and forget that lady. She was my first ever customer. She bought a photo that meant the world to her and her late husband. And it was, again, we're talking about taking photos of toys and action figures. But again, your art means something to people. It may not mean something to everybody, but it means something to someone. And in that moment, if I had never sold another photo, the cost and everything I put in going to that con was worth it. So some other highlights from the con, some other highlights from the year, but in a nutshell, that was kind of 2019 for me. And yeah, we all kind of remember what happened in 2020. So let's talk about that next. But thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And you can find me on social media at _Batmandrew. Thanks, guys.